list of the players we'll be inviting to camp.
I never heard of half of these guys, and the ones I do know are way past their prime.
Most of these guys never had a prime.
The facts are we lost our two best players to free agency. We haven't won a pennant in over 35 years. We haven't placed higher than 4th in the last 15. Obviously, it's time for some changes.
This guy here is dead.
Cross him off, then.
Our world.
Oh, look. This is Charlie Donovan of the Cleveland Indians. How would you like to manage the Indians this year?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? This is a chance to manage in the big leagues.
Let me think it over, will you, Charlie? I got a guy on the other line about some white walls. I'll talk to you later.
Just a bit outside.
I cannot hit curveball. Straight ball, I hit it very much. Curveball, that's our friend.
Say hey! Willie Mays Hayes here. Play like Mays, and I run like Hayes.
Hey, good morning to you. Welcome back. It's 37 after 8 o'clock. This is 93.1 and the Mighty 1190. We're glad you're with us. So the World Series just ended. Washington Nationals win. No home team wins a game in the entire series. And, Archie's favorite team, the Cardinals. And, there's a relationship there with Mike Shildt, the general manager of the Cardinals. And he's actually, our manager of the Cardinals. Yeah. And he's actually coming back into town now and taking some time to talk with us. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good, Shane. Art, how you doing?
Doing great. Emery's with us also. Congratulations on a great season. I know, I got to say this because you never would. But in your first full season as manager of the Cardinals, you won the division and turned them completely around on defense.
Yeah, thanks, Arch. It was a good season, guys. They brought it every day, and we took our best bolt and, had a lot of positive things that happened and, ran into Washington that couldn't quite get through them.
Yeah, boy, they were tough, as the Astros will attest.
Let me ask you if I can, Mike, since this was your first full season and you're not talking to a reporter now on ESPN or anything, how nervous were you? I mean, because you've been with the organization a really long time and you've done a lot of things, but that's a huge step.
Yeah, there's always some level of nervousness. I think that's a healthy thing. But, the two things that help me is, probably three things. Is you just prepare, you trust you best you can, and, you just trust the players and your preparation, and then, ultimately it's just about doing your best, staying present and not getting too concerned about the external environment that's taking place and all the different things. And ultimately it's still a game that you've been, honored, blessed to be in for your, most of your life, and you appreciate the opportunity and enjoy the competition.
Mike, let me ask you, 162 games, is a lot, and of course there's way more than that with spring training and then the postseason. When you're finally, when your baseball season is over, do your guys watch the World Series? Do you pull for anybody? I mean, I know we're for the National League, but can you pull for the Nats after they knock you out? How's that work?
Well, I'm sure I put it on to some of the games. I didn't feel a pull to watch it all. You want to get back into catching up on some personal things and so forth. And I'm sure guys sparingly watch it or not. But as far as pulling for somebody, you pull for relationships. But I've got some people in Houston that came over from our organization that I've known for years, and but also have a healthy respect for what Washington did to us and how they compete and what they were doing. So I was pulling for the National League club.
Yeah, I understand. Mike, if you had a chance to think about it, I'll put you on the spot a little bit. What has been your highest highlight of the season, and also your lowest point?
Probably the highlight. Gosh, I suppose once we couple things, clinching. Everything's about the team. We have a lot of individuals that we celebrate things that guys do individually, and we celebrate things we do during the course of the year. But it's hard to do that because the next game is right around the corner, and but clinching on the final day of the season, the division was special. It's something you're fighting for I'd say 6 months, but spring training and pretty much the whole year leading up to it. You want to win your division, and then beating the Braves, that was obviously a high water mark, but leads you right in the most disappointing part because you do all that to ultimately win it all, and you put yourself in a position and you come up short. So that's the frustrating part. No regrets on how we competed or how we prepared or anything like that, but still disappointing that weren't able to win that last game of the year.
Now, just to give listeners an idea, Mike, about this, as long as the season is and as many games as there are, I asked you this before we went on air, but I think it'd be interesting for the listeners to hear. How soon after you made the postseason, how soon after the World Series is over, you're already thinking about next season, aren't you?
Yeah, you want to take some time to decompress and reconnect with people and get back to, enjoying a little bit more balance in your life. But the fact of the matter is, it's a highly competitive field. No one's going to sit around and wait around for you to do your part. So, not as quick or as much of a pace, but, we met right after the season. We flew back from Washington the next day. And then that afternoon, we met with our staff and our front office and ownership and started discussing the team, what just happened, and how we're going to get better moving forward. And then, we've been taking strides and having conversations about what that looks like.
Well, some of the things, some decisions will need to be made, just a few things. We got to determine whether a long-term contract is going to be offered to Marcell Ozuna.
Yeah, we talked about it, and I'm the field manager, so you always want good players as many as you can. Not that the front office doesn't. Clearly, they want to put together a good competitive club, and Ozuna, I actually FaceTimed with him yesterday. He's in the Dominican and doing well, and I just have a lot of respect for how he plays the game and clearly his talent. He's a big part of what we did. He was an anchor in the middle of the lineup and, played every day and played hard and contributed for sure. But, fact of the matter is, it's no different than the radio business or anything else. It's just that. It's a business. And the front office has to weigh against the contracts we currently have, the players that are coming up through our system, and then gauge, the ability to compensate Marcell and still create opportunities for guys they feel like can maybe help us, coming up. So out of my pay grade, we'll see what happens. Love to have him back for a lot of reasons, but, time will tell.
Yeah, that's true. Now, Jack Flaherty, Dakota Hudson, and Miles Michaelis are going to be back, barring injury, of course. But Adam Wainwright, Michael Walker are free agents. Has Waino decided, and not that this is totally his decision, but has he said he'd like to be back for another year? Has he said that?
Yeah, I think so, Arch. I think he's still got the fire to burn, and I know he's going to talk to his family. He's a great family man. He's got a beautiful wife and girls and little baby boy now in the Wainwright family. So I know they were going to spend some time to meditate on it. But, my sense is that, he's still got a desire to do it, still has gas in the tank. And it'll be ultimately a decision that he makes. But I can tell you that I love to have him back. And I feel like the front office, everything's got to make sense. But I feel like everybody's, work in the direction to have it back.
It's really hard not to like him. I mean, he's still got control of his pitches. He's painting those corners, and I'm sure he's a great mentor to the younger pitchers.
Yeah, he's got a real, a lot of respect for people that do anything at a high level and have to adjust to what that looks like to still be able to compete at a high level. And Adam's got, like we do as an organization, he's got high expectations and he's not doesn't have the same stuff that he had, 5-6 years ago, but he's got a real good grasp of how to use his craft and how to control his pitches and how to use his pitches. And his pitches are still good. They're just different. He's been able to use them to be able to help us out quite a bit. And then he's a strong Christian and just got a lot of experience that he's very sincere about sharing with people and serving others. And I know he enjoys that quite a bit. And it's a big benefit for all of our guys, including myself. So we hopefully he comes back, and there's a lot of value he brings to us.
We certainly missed Jordan Hicks in the postseason. How's his recovery going from injury?
Yeah, it's a long process with Jordan. We did miss him. Carlos, really stepped in and did a good job. It's a tough role, and it's always if it doesn't look good a day or two, people get sideways. But Carlos' body of work was really impressive. But we did miss Jordan because that's another huge asset for us. And but the surgery went well, the recovery's going well. He's working at it very diligently. It's just going to be a while. It's going to still, he's going to be out through a good portion of next year. And, obviously we want to make sure when he comes back, he's ready to go for the short and long term.
Mike, how do you manage a game, the final game against the Braves? You go up, you score 10 runs in the first inning. Does it change how you finish the game, or do you keep playing to try to get as many runs as possible? How does having an inning like that in a playoff game change the way you manage?
Yeah, it's both. It's a major league record scoring 10 runs in the first in a playoff game, and clearly it's a great situation to be in. Managed a little differently, went right to our, we used Bader for a later inning defense, or when we had the lead. Thankfully we had the lead early, so we went, go ahead and got Harrison in there, play to make sure we're getting the outs. And, as far as everything else goes, we, still had a lot of respect, for that team with the Braves. If you score 10, they're capable of doing the same thing. Of course, we had Jack going and felt comfortable and confident about that, and he rewarded that confidence. But, you just keep managing the game. You keep the pedal down. There's a respect factor of not looking to, to try to, manufacture runs by stealing or hitting and running or bunting or any of that. But, you're still playing the game and still looking to add on. And, I was pleased that, we scored the 10, then we scored in the second and third as well to continue to add on. And then you get later in the game, we really were able to put our bullpen into, throwing guys that, we needed to get the work in. And obviously they're on the roster for a reason, so we're confident they can get out. But, able to get the guys to work. And it was a memorable, fun game.
Mike, you mentioned Harrison Bader, a great defensive player, and when he's on base, gosh, what a threat to steal. We've seen it before where, like when you had him and someone else on base, he can almost run down the runner in front of him. But he's a great player, but one of 8 different outfielders that you have. What's the outfield going to look like next season?
Yeah, Harrison's a good player. He's got a lot of skill sets. Obviously, a great runner, top 3 Gold Glove finalist for the year, which is deserving.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of things. Still figuring out how to be consistent with the bat, which in today's game it's getting harder and harder to hit based on a lot of different reasons. And it's never been an easy thing. And it's an adjustment period for younger players to find that consistency, but it's not for lack of effort for Harrison. And it's a competitive outfield. We're not sure what's going to happen with Zuna, as we spoke about, but you still have Dexter Fowler and Harrison and Jose Martinez, and Randy Rosarena came up, and then Lane Thomas did a nice job for us where he got hit and missed some time at the end of the year, but did a really good job for us and is a good player. So. It's a good situation to have a lot of guys out there that are capable, and some of them bring different skill sets that complement how we look to compete. So it's a good situation.
You know, it's hard to single out a player because there's so many good ones and so many good stories. But one of the highlights has got to be from this season is Tommy Edman.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we knew of Tommy through the system. The guys in the player development were always complimentary about him. He went to the Arizona Fall League last fall and did a nice job there. And Stubby Clapp managed in Memphis the last 2 years, was our first base coach this year. And, you know, talking to him, he's like, yeah, this guy can help us at some point. Saw him in spring training, had a really good spring in big league camp, and really opened up some eyes. And, you know, I don't know how surprising it was, just not familiar with him, really. But to see him play as well as he did and be able to move around. And, but, you know, at the time we didn't have a real need for him to start the season with us and let him go get some at-bats in Memphis. And then the need arose for him to come up. And you know, to his credit, you know, he took advantage of the opportunity and just a really, really good player, you know, steady and play anywhere and just finds a way to get it done. And, you know, appreciate how he prepares for games and how he made adjustments to the league and how aggressive he was, still smart. And he's a good player. I mean, you know, I just think he found out a way, you know, to get it done without him, but he was a big part of our success the second half.
Mike, I know your faith is very important to you. How do you use that in baseball?
Yeah, you know, Arch, it's really important. You know, you at least for me, to represent the faith, and you know, I try to live it, model it. You know, you have your moments. You know, there's a private moment that got there that I'm not thrilled about with some profanity. I mean, nothing I said was disparaging to anyone, but you know. It's interesting because I read James a lot, you know, over the years, and you know, you talk about the tongue and how those teachers have to be careful, and you know, invariably, if you're going to teach, you know, something's going to happen. But that you know, I got to give myself grace for that, and you know, just know that my heart's got the cord in it, and you know, ultimately, I love what I do. I'm grateful for the opportunity. We alluded earlier to. How I'm able to handle all the stresses and the pressures that come with the job. Ultimately, I know I could not do it without my faith, and you know, it's just very important to be able to lean on, to anchor to it, and then you know, it's importantly to just honor the gifts that God's given me, and to help others understand that, you know, there's always a good place to go for strength that will always be there for you. And you know, that's, for me, that's my faith and my God. So, you know, glad you asked. It's really probably the most important thing that is not probably, it's the most important thing that I find that allows me to appreciate my job and to share and create a platform for my job to share my faith.
Mike, who's the best pitcher in baseball that's not a Cardinal?
You know what? There's a lot of good ones.
Yep.
I thought Darvish might have pitched the best game against us all year in Chicago. The kid in L.A., Walker Buehler's really, really tough. And then, you know, Scherzer, Corbin, and Strasburg they're a handful. So it's hard to say who's the best, but those guys are you always have to be on your game in the big league. You don't take anybody for granted, but you know, if you're going to beat those guys, everybody's got to be on their game.
You know, we watch the games, and it's almost like Yadier Molina is almost like a player coach out there. He's so knowledgeable, and you know, is such a help to the pitchers. I personally like it when he and he's just being friendly when he walks the batter down to first base. I love that.
Yeah, he's I mean, Yadi, man, he's special. It's hard to really capture everything that he does and brings, because he's amazing. He really is, Arch. And, you know, I say this, and people can agree, disagree. I believe it. You know, when you talk about the MVP, I really still don't see. I mean, you know, obviously Bellinger, Rendon's a phenomenal player and talent. So it's hard to say who's the MVP. I can just tell you this. I mean, his numbers aren't going to match up offensively to garner that award. But what he's able to do in a lot of different fashions is really just pretty amazing, honestly. And, you know, for what he does calling the game. He's so smart, and he sees the game better than anybody I've ever seen, including managers. I mean, he's got a baseball IQ that literally is off the charts for me. So, yeah, talk about a blessing. You know, he's great. He's on the field, and he takes, you know, you trust him, and you know, got a good relationship with him, obviously, and enjoy him, and but man, he's just a great competitor. He's not going to take anything from anybody, and he's going to respect everybody, and he's just he's a Hall of Fame caliber player.
Well, he's first ballot Hall of Famer, I think, in a multi-gold Gold Glove winner, as are a number of Cardinals. I've seen those nominations. When will they award that?
Sunday night. So let everybody know Sunday night. You know, yeah, we've got 6 Major League Best, 6 Gold Glove, top 3 finalists. With Bader and Yadier, Goldie, Flaherty, Long, and DeYoung.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
That's great. Well, Mike, we appreciate your time as always, and you know, like you alluded to at the beginning, there's not much of an off season. It's time to start looking at players. And what would you say? Give me a couple of you know, if you had a genie that could solve your problems, what are 2 needs that you'd like to see filled?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I like our team a lot. I don't think we're going to do a whole lot. I'm not sure. You know, again, you know, you always as a manager, you know, I mean, I love our starting pitching, but you know, you can't have enough of it. You know, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Waka. Again, we're not sure what's happening with Wainwright. So
Garrett Cole's a free agent.
What's that?
Garrett Cole's a free agent.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, and you're talking about wish list, man. I mean, you know, I get smarter immediately if we had a Garrett Cole.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't see that happening. Again, I think it'd be wonderful to have another frontline guy like that. But yeah, we'll see. You know, again, I'll have to have Azuna's bat back, and but ultimately, my job is to manage the club they give us and make it the best I possibly can, and us and our staff, and that's what we'll do regardless of what we have.
Now, how long, Mike, do you get to rest before you have to go back at it full bore?
Yeah, full bore, you know, that won't really take place until spring training starts early February.
Yeah.
So, you know, but there's, and you know, there's something to be done about every day. Some more than others. I'll be going down to Jupiter, the 12th and 13th with our staff to go over some things. And, but yeah, I mean, it's, you know, full bore and, you know, back to the actual, and I don't really call it is a grind. I don't really necessarily call it a grind because I love it. But you know, it's no, once you hit your boots hit the ground, you know, on spring training, man, it's on.
And I have to mention to you, we have a mutual friend, a good friend of mine, and it took me a long time to put 2 and 2 together that y'all knew one another, because he was a very good baseball player out at Wingate, and in conversation one day we were talking, and I mentioned your name, and T.J. Worrell.
Oh, man, what a good guy. I love T.J. I've known T.J. a long time. I saw T.J. when he was in Little League over Star Clair.
You know, he said he and I have got to be good friends, and we were out eating one night, and that's how your name came up, and he told me, he said, let me tell you something. He said that was the best pick they could have possibly got to run that. And he told me, he said I would give anything if I would have paid more attention to Mike. back when I did. He said because I was better than I thought I was, and he knew it and I didn't.
Well, I don't know. TJ was very coachable and very talented. Unfortunately, had some arm problems.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's a Charlotte firefighter now.
Well, good.
Yep. Making a good living. Well, you enjoy your time off, Mike.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, bud. We appreciate it a lot.
Mike
We'll talk
Shildt,
to you soon.
manager of the St. Louis Cardinals.
I'm just glad he get to come home and rest a little bit because listen, that's a. He won't call it a grind, but it's a grind. There
are what 30 major league managers.
Yeah, and how many? And I wonder if he even keeps up how many miles he flew this year. You know what I mean?
Miserable.
And I didn't mention it, but former Cardinal manager Mike Matheny's been signed by the Royals.
Yeah.
To manage.
We'll break here. We'll be back.